वासाय विद्महे शान्तस्वरूपाय धीमहि तन्नः चन्द्रशेखर प्रचोदयात्. Maha Periyava Satcharitram, Chapter 2. Have good thoughts when you go to sleep every night, says Maha Periyava. It was a regular day at the Srimatam. Maha Periyava was sitting with a benign smile among the devotees, some of whom were seeking advice from him, some who prayed to him in silence, and some others who were content just to keep looking at him in pure ecstasy. A senior devotee then got up to ask Periyava a question. His question was somewhat out of the way, but Periyava was known to reply to devotees' queries without demur. Swami Paul Brunton, the foreign writer, has said in his book that you gave him darshan in the hotel where he was staying at midnight in the open air. He has asserted that it was you in person and not his hallucination. Does this imply that Periyava can be at two places at the same time? Everyone was eagerly waiting for Periyava's response. Before we give out the response given by Periyava to the question, it would be important to set the context and explain the background about Paul Brunton and his encounter with Periyava. Paul Brunton was a journalist from Switzerland. He was a philosopher as well and travelled around the world. He was born on 21/10/1898 and died on 27/7/1981, and during the World War, he lived in India as the guest of Krishnaraja, the Maharaja of Mysore. Brunton dedicated his book, The Quest of the Self, to the Maharaja and was personally affected when Krishnaraja died in 1940. Brunton's spiritual enquiry had no national or religious boundaries, and he revered all religions and their heads. In particular, he was deeply influenced by the Hindu spiritual thinking. He came to India to see ascetics in India and learn spirituality from them. He had heard about Maha Periyava, and what he knew impressed him greatly. The fact that position, wealth or power mattered very little to Periyava, that he never differentiated between rich and poor, etc., made Brunton long to have Periyava's darshan. He sought out to Mr. Sri K.S. Venkatramani and expressed his desire and anxiety that being a foreigner, he might not be entertained by Maha Periyava. Venkatramani was a prodigious writer in Tamil and English who had adorned Tamil literature with novels like Murugan Alladhu Ulavan and Kandan Oru Desabhaktan. Literary researchers like Chitti, Sivapada Sundaram, Vallikannan and Kanasu have referred to his writings. Nobel laureate Rabindranath Tagore too respected him. Venkatramani was known for his patriotism and firm belief in God. He was very attached to Maha Periyava, and Venkatramani absolved Brunton of his doubt and arranged a meeting for him with Periyava in January 1931. Periyava was camping in Chengalpet at that time. Venkatramani took Brunton from Madras and explained to Periyava his spiritual quest. Periyava looked at Brunton with great kindness and affection. He was capable of only that. Not for him were any religious or national divides. He only wanted everyone to seek God in his own manner through his own religion. After all, Periyava saw godliness even in the sound of namaz at the mosque adjacent to the Srimatam. Such was his spiritual magnificence. It was no wonder then that Paul Brunton was completely enchanted by the darshan of Periyava. He felt immense peace and asked himself, why don't I designate Maha Periyava as my Sadguru? He had not spoken anything, but with Periyava, words are often unnecessary. He could read the inner mind of the foreigner sitting across and spoke to him as follows. You are seeking a Sadguru from whom you would like to get advice, right? I am the Adipati of this Matam, and as such, I am bound by certain rules and regulations that I cannot break or exceed. But don't worry, the right Guru for you is in Tiruvannamalai. His name is Ramana Maharishi. Meet him without fail before you return to your country. Your life will be transformed for the better. Periva blessed Brunton with his characteristic raised right hand and inverted palm. Brunton was speechless and tears rolled down his cheeks. He returned to Madras but realized he would not be able to meet Ramana Maharishi in that visit as he was booked on a flight back to Switzerland the very next day. He would have to see him during his next visit. With this thought, Brunton went to sleep. In deep slumber, suddenly Brunton heard someone calling him. He woke up in puzzlement and saw Periva standing before him. The room was latched. So how could Periva have come in? Brunton pinched himself to see if he was dreaming. He was not. It was indeed Maha Periyava with an impish smile facing him. And then he heard his voice. Don't forget to meet Ramana Maharishi. Postpone your return, but do not defer the visit to Ramana. That will change your life. Brunton sat stock still with awe and decided to follow Periva's advice. The rest, as they say, is history. How Paul Brunton met Ramana Maharishi and how it revolutionized his life, etc. Now let us get back to Periva's reply to the devotee who asked him, Periva, can you be at two places at the same time? Periva looked at the querist with great love for a few moments before answering. This is why I say, always have good thoughts just before you sleep. He just said this, got up and went in. With this simple reply, Periva walked into the hearts of all present. Every person was moved by his casual denial of the miracle he had just performed, a denial that stemmed from his complete detachment, his humongous spiritualism.